This entire year, San Francisco just hasn't looked like the team of recent years, with perhaps the most notable downgrade coming on the defensive side of the ball. Against the rush, for instance, they've given up 4.5 yards per carry, which is good to be in the back half of the league. And against the pass, it even gets worse. They've given up 8.5 yards an attempt, which is third worst across the entire NFL. A huge reason for this catastrophic failure is the brainchild developed by Sorensen and Staley this offseason. It just isn't working. But I would argue San Francisco's linebacker and Devondre Campbell really hasn't helped causes either. On this penalty on Colby Parkinson, for instance, I've heard this was a terrible matchup, but it's not like Parkinson is that fast. He ran his 40-yard dash in 4.77 seconds. Campbell should have the speed to cover a tight end of his ability. And it's not like Campbell's speed is just slipping, but his technique has also been sloppy on some plays. Here, for instance, he waits until this tight end turns him and gives up a massive play, knowing it's possible they're going to try to run the streak, especially with the game on the line. But it's not just against the pass where I think Campbell looks a little bit slower, but also against the run. On this sweep, for instance, Campbell shoots inwards, thinking that he can beat this back to the outside, but the back beats him and picks up additional yardage. Outside of Campbell's speed though, I think he also has struggled at taking on blocks and being aggressive in the run game. Here, for instance, the tight end attacks him, Campbell isn't really attacking this hole, and is driven back into the end zone. In comparison, when you watch Fred Warner, he's quickly able to trigger on this hole and get around this offensive lineman coming at him. He doesn't make the tackle, but it's much better aggression. Kyle Shanahan, Dee Winters has done enough to push for the starting job, which is a big reason we started to see Winters be rotated in this Rams game. And while we only saw him on limited reps, he was the exact polar opposite of Campbell. He runs his 40-yard dash in 4.49 seconds, and on the field, he puts it to good use. On this short dump off, for instance, Winters is starting on the opposite side of the field, but somehow is able to get to this wide receiver and puts a pretty good hit onto him. This type of speed and ability to get to the ball is just a big play waiting to happen. He reminds me of maybe Quan Alexander or even Dre Greenlaw. Winters' athleticism also helps him in coverage. Here with this tight end breaking out, for instance, you can tell he's in the back pocket the entire time, and if Stafford would have targeted him, I'm sure it would have been an interception going the opposite way. But even outside of this LA game, he was arguably the second best linebacker this entire offseason, and that dragged into the preseason as well. One area in which I think he really improved is his play recognition and understanding players' tendencies. On this scramble from Will Levis, for instance, he's starting on the opposite side of the field once again, but he's reading Will Levis this entire way. He understands Levis loves to run in these situations, and once he does take off, he's right there to meet him on the goal line. So while I think it's clear that Winters has the speed to blow up almost any play, I also think he's taken steps since his college years to eliminate some missed tackles. In this Raiders game, for instance, Winters understands he's in open space and does a good job of breaking down to ensure this ball carrier actually is brought down. So while Winters has always had the speed, I think he's even more effective this year because he's better at managing this. So with San Francisco's defense struggling this year, it makes a lot of sense to put Winters in the game to see if he has the ability to maybe be an upgrade over a guy like Campbell. He may have some learning pains because he's a young player, but his playmaking ability is something that's desperately needed on this team. But ultimately, I think this is just one way Nick Sorensen can adjust his defense and possibly see a better result than he's been getting. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on Devondre Campbell, Dee Winters, and Sorensen's defense as a whole. It would also mean a ton to me if you could like and subscribe. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.